You know, today is Palm Sunday, which is a Christian movable feast that celebrates the day that Jesus triumphantly came into Jerusalem on a donkey. And it also begins the end of his amazing ministry here on this plain. We refer to the master teacher Jesus as the great example, not the great exception. All right, and so we want to celebrate that, and we also want to honor that today is one of the days that Buddha's birthday is celebrated. So we're all about diversity and inclusion. Happy birthday, Buddha. We're honoring Palm Sunday, and we are also today going to learn about the power of Passover. I'm so happy to have Rabbi Rachel back among us again. So please help me welcome Rabbi Rachel Short.
So much. It's a pleasure to be here with you all again. I always love being in this space among people who are like-minded in community and sharing and woven in love. I really, really, really love that message, and I actually think that's a perfect kickoff for this time of season, you know? As Reverend Kathy said, it's Palm Sunday, we have Easter coming up, it begins one of our largest festivals of Pesach, Passover, the Buddha's birthday, and I think it's nice to see that there's a reason why all these things happen. You know, we all come out like this, woven with love, right? And springtime is that time of renewal and love and that great reminder. So I'm really, really honored and humbled to be here and speak with you and be a part of your service today. Thank you very much for letting me be here. So last year when I came to speak with you guys, we had already had our Passover Seder. So I kind of told the story of Passover and was like a ha-ha in case you missed it. This year, luckily, our Seder is Friday night. And it's actually here in Hawaiian Paradise Park at the Activity Center in between 16th and 17th at Maku. It's going to be a potluck. The whole goal is, I know that last year we had this time of year and then things got a little chaotic, if you will. So the intention is for us as community to come together and really reconnect after what we've been through and go through this renewal process, because we are getting to start again this time of season. We are. And the main thing we do at a Passover Seder is we tell the story of the Exodus. We tell the story of the Exodus of the Jews leaving Egypt, wandering through the desert to find, whatever it is. So I don't want to give too much away today because I kind of want to entice you to come somewhat, but I'm going to give you an idea of what it's like. So just to give you a background, the word Seder in Hebrew actually means order. So our Seder meal is we retell the story of the Exodus in a certain order. We eat certain foods, we drink wine at certain times, all in ways to recount the things that we've been through. And it's kind of in honoring the kapuna, right? It's coming back to what our ancestors went through. We tell this story again and again and again. Every year, I remember as a kid sitting through these really long Seders that were 5 hours long and going on and on. But this was the idea, is that if we tell this story to our children, to our future generations, and to people to come, then that will never happen again. History repeats itself if we don't, allow that to happen. On a somewhat different tangent, I was at my friend Goldie Lefkowitz's 97th birthday yesterday. She's a Holocaust survivor. And, right, amazing, kind of hard. And sorry, I randomly throw out Yiddish. I've become a Jewish mother quickly. It really happened very fast. I know why I'm surprised and I'm not. But it was her 97th birthday yesterday, and she sat down next to me and she said, Rachel, a quote came across my desk this morning. And the quote that came to me on my birthday morning was, they came for the communists, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a communist. They came for the unionists, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a unionist. They came for the Jews, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And that really, really, really has resonated with me. And I've prepared stuff and everything to share with you today, but that's really stuck with me in that her saying that to me in this time of year, where we're at, where we're going through, as a world, as a country, as a people, that we have to look at where we've been. We have to look and see that the story of Exodus is not just a journey of people wandering through the desert. It's genuinely the first revolution. It was the first time that a people were persecuted and oppressed, were building pyramids, they were under a state of tyranny, and they rose up. And the amazing thing about Moses is he recognized what you guys do in this very room. It was the power of the word. The Moses code was, I am that I am, right? I am that I am. And he spoke, and it happened. And this was the first time that that really happened. And here we are, coming back to a place where we have an opportunity to stand up and know that there's a need for what's going on in our world right now. Things are shifting. There's a big, sorry, I'm going on a completely different tangent than Passover, but it's what's meant to come through. It's what's meant to come through. But we are at a place in our world where we have to look and see where we've been. If we can't see what our ancestors have been through, going from Exodus, going from the Holocaust, not just Jews, but people all over the world, how can we stand by and think that we are different? How can we stand by here silently and not recognize the power that we have of our own voice? And this power that comes from a Passover Seder, that comes from an order, that comes from recognizing where we've come from, where we are now, so that history never repeats itself, and where we're going is beautiful and bright and sunny and under this amazing rainbow where I feel like we're all just going to hold hands and sing in love, and it's going to be this, you know what I mean, euphoric thing. But I think that's where we're headed, and I think we're being tested. I think us as an island have been tested this past year. I think us as a people have been tested this past year. And I think the tests aren't going to stop. And I think what happens is we tell stories to remind ourselves that we've made it through. And if we made it through once, we can make it through again. Because stuff gets hard. Things get mucky. The legend of Exodus is people stuck in the wilderness. They're really not even that far from where they're going. If they only had GPS, they would have been there in 10 minutes. I mean, geez. But for real, it's this idea that they're sitting alone, wandering, looking around, going, God help us, God help us, God help us, God help us. And when they stop and go, no, I am that I am. I'm going to stand up for what is right, what is pono, what is epic, what is righteous. That I am going to be the change I wish to see in the world. Not just outwardly to the way I smile at a stranger, but in my thoughts, in my heart, and in my mind. And to know that if I believe something, that's going to happen. And if that's a thought of aggression, or anger, or guilt, or blame, or hurt, or resentment, how's that going to come back? What are we putting out as a people? But if we can look deeper at these stories and what our ancestors have been through, and know that there came a point where they stood in front of the Dead Sea with people running behind them, right? Chasing them down. Picture Charlton Heston and the chariots and all these things coming. And what happened? Moses spoke, Miriam danced, and the sea parted. And to me, there is such a larger representation in the parting of the sea. I think at every moment, we have an opportunity for our own exodus. I think that at every moment, there are seas we can choose to look at and get really afraid of and turn and run back where there's someone chasing us, but the chase is comfort. The chase is familiar. Or we can look that fear in the face and we can march through that sea. And we can watch that when we have that fearlessness, we have this warrior mentality, this warrior of love and truth. That sea will part. And when that sea parts, what happens? We come out on the other side. We make it through. There's light at the end of the tunnel. But the tunnel is dark, and it's scary, and it's uncomfortable, and it's filled with mosquitoes, and it's hot, and it's humid, and I don't want to go through it. But when I go through it, what's at the other end? Exodus, freedom. And we look back now and we think, wow, that's such a crazy story, but it's really not. And maybe that's why we're meant to tell it over and over again. And maybe that's why divine timing has it, where we tell the same story at the same time of year every year, because this is the change that we're meant to be going through. I mean, it's tax season. Come on. If that can't wake you up, I don't know what can. But honestly, that's what it means to me. And the most amazing thing to me about the story of Passover is Moses didn't want that job. If you look really deeply into the Torah, the Kabbalistic teachings, Moses didn't want this. Moses was kind of burdened by this entire thing. He was really like, God, can't you find someone else? I mean, come on, this is a lot. You already made me do the 10 Commandments. Now I'm supposed to lead these people to freedom? Oh, that's a lot to ask. But he did it. He did it. And it wasn't just Moses. His sister Miriam was beside him. She is the first female prophet in the Bible, who my daughter's middle name is after. Because a lot of people don't realize she was beside him as he was doing this intense manifestation, what I believe, this intense meditation, willing the seas to part. She was getting the people doing what we're doing, singing, dancing, supporting him in spiritual energy and freedom, because that's how we lift up. That's how we genuinely raise the vibration, is through our creative energy, through our own warrior essence, is through looking fear in the face and going, you know what? I got this. I got this. So with that said, I'm going to share something with you guys that I wrote special for you today. It's what flows through me. And I'm going to hope that it's going to be enough to let you come hear this story for yourself and be a part of this tradition and see why it's important for us as people to come together at times like this around the wisdom, the ancestry, and the spiritual traditions that have gotten us through thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So aloha, shalom everyone. I'm grateful to be here together as one. Our Passover festival has yet to begun, so I'm hoping you'll all join in on the fun. We are still here now under the same sun as Moses was under when he started to run. He saw a corrupt system. He knew something must be done. The pyramids they were building, those bricks weighed a ton. Now we look back, we see how far we have come. We believe there are accidents when there really are none. Sometimes we feel afraid, hopeless, and stuck, like the world's closing in or we're being hit by a truck. The world around us makes us want to scream, but the water's not deep. We just can't see through the muck. Belief in our Creator takes way more than luck. It takes a level of faith, shaking it off like a duck. See, Moses, you see, didn't want his role. He was overwhelmed and struggled with reaching his goal. God gave him his mission, and it took its toll, but he knew he had to part the Red Sea with a pole. He was the link. He could fill the hole. This was the mission of his soul. To fight for something so much bigger than him. His belief in God is what made him win. He started where he was. He let his journey begin. He surrendered it all. He let go and gave in. A righteous man in a world of sin, he knew he had no choice but to fight for his kin. This was his power when things could look grim, because despite how much it seemed like the divine light was dim, Moses went deeper. He looked within. The story of Exodus, we all somewhat know, is what happens when we realize there's too much to know. We are just part of this divine flow when we work together, when we let go. When we reach towards the light, we learn and we grow, because deep down inside, we know it's our show. We are just conduits of the divine. These bodies aren't ours, yours or mine. There's really no place for logic, reason, or rhyme. This great spaciousness with no concept of time. We're all here together, walking the line, and if we look closely, all is just fine. Being who you are can sometimes be a crime, but we can fight for what's right and leave no one behind. I guess to me that's what Exodus means. When you let God take over, you wake up in your dream. You realize things aren't always as they seem, even when others can be pretty mean. There's always an option. There's always a way out. Maybe we just need to try a different route. Sometimes we cry, we whine, and we pout. Sometimes we're angry, and we scream, and we shout. Sometimes we're confused, and we're filled with doubt, unaware of our power, what it's really about. That we have the power to choose our fate. We work together, the divine as our mate. No matter how much we seem to have on our plate, there is an order when we clear the slate. Things are changing at an unfathomable rate, but the time is now. It is never too late. We can part seas, not take the bait. Look at the story and see how we relate. To really look deeper, stop and contemplate what Exodus means here on this date. We hurt ourselves with resentment, guilt, blame, and hate. We cut off our hearts where we could relate. We back down when it seems things escalate, but we can part seas. We can open the gate. Because you are truly your own soulmate, though that may seem heavy, like too big of weight. But I am that I am, is what Moses said. As he marched through the desert, the people he led. Persecution and slavery, they finally fled. Then when Pharaoh tried to follow, the sea turned blood red. They didn't look back, they went forward instead. And they left for freedom, while Pharaoh was left dead. Moses and Miriam came from their hearts, not their heads. There was no time for fear, no space for dread. The people had risen, no time left for their bread. So we tell this story again and again at our Seder meal with our family and our friends to remember the fact that we cannot pretend we have been there before and we could be again. Mental slavery, religious persecution, we are the chaos and we are the pollution. I am that I am, we are attribution, and we are the change. We are the solution. We are one with no substitution. We listen to this tale, our ancestors finding their way home, and we know we're supported. We are never alone. Through deserts and seas, we may wander and roam. We are always adventuring into the unknown. But there's help along the way. Signs were being shown. If we can just look deeper, we always have grown. The time is now. The cover's been blown. Begin your exodus. Throw yourself a bone. Look up at the sky, not down at your phone. This is your life, your choices you own. We are just spirit in bodies on loan. The divine hears you in all keys and tones. I am that I am. Shaloha. Shalom. Thank you all so much for letting me know this morning.
The rapping rabbi, I just heard Thomas say. You are powerful, isn't she? I'm going to schedule her again right away. We want to hold on to that energy. Thank you.